Alaska.
Oh, what was it like?
Huh?
Oh, it was when we grew up, it was such a wonderful time, you know. There was no big population or anything.
Like every 2 hours.
And well, we lived over on Douglas Island, see, and Juneau was just across the channel, and Juneau was the capital. They probably had about, I don't know, 8,000 or 9,000 people.
Oh, yeah.
But over in Douglas, we only had about 800, maybe 900, and
That sounds perfect.
and of course Douglas Island, you know, it originally had 3 of the largest gold mines in the world on it, and so that was all closed down. But us kids used to go up there and play around where all that stuff was, you know.
He's all right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was we really want to
Huh.
look back.
yeah, they.
When we were.
But it was such a good time, you know. There wasn't many people there then.
During the
Yeah.
wildfires.
Oh, that
Yeah.
Oh, there was
Yeah.
tremendous smoke, you
Yeah.
know, but we
Yeah.
want to go
Did
back
you
when there's no smoke.
did you
And-
see a lot? Oh, go ahead.
Of course, see, they didn't have the bridge to Juneau then. We used to,
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
if
when
we
they
wanted
had,
to go over to
It was after
Juneau,
the Wenatchee fire.
they have a
Because,
real nice
everything
ferry
was
boat
burned
that used to run across
But,
there.
But there was
And,
so much
or as kids, when we got older, you know,
all
like,
the way through the park
about,
because we came-
uh,
we were going to
13, 15 years
Oh,
old,
So,
we
yeah,
get in the
so
rowboats
when
and
we
row
came back
over
past
to
Wenatchee,
Juneau
yeah,
all
it was
the
all
time.
smoke, you know.
And
Yeah.
Canada was really burning.
Yeah.
down,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
That's
Wenatchee
a
fire
a long
was
ways away.
by-
Pardon?
That would be a long ways away. How long did it take
Oh,
to
it
go
was only
across?
about, let's say,
I know, they're not.
a little over a
Yeah.
mile or so
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
Douglas to Juneau in the rowboat. Yeah.
And you can see
And,
that
uh,
in the trees too.
So we spent a lot of time in the rowboats when we were kids. Yeah. And
Oh,
Do
wow.
you
that
feel
was so much fun.
Oh, so
Yeah.
that would be
Yeah.
wonderful. Did you? Scott says, did you go fishing?
Pardon?
Did you fish in there? Did you go
Did I what?
fishing? Fishing? Did you go fishing?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
we went
Wow.
fishing a lot. After we got older in my teens, you know, we used to go salmon fishing all the time. Yeah. And then, gee, when I was
Not commercial.
older, you know, right down on the dock in Douglas there, they had a salmon cannery. And every summer they would start that cannery up and can salmon. And they used to handle, on an average, about 1,000 fish an hour
Oh.
on there. And I worked about, I think, 5 different jobs in that cannery from time to time. And one of them I worked on when the fish come in, they come into a machine called an iron chink. And the iron chink would cut off the head and the tails and the fins. And then it would slit the belly open and clean out the fish. And all of that was done by that one machine.
Wow.
And then the fish would go on a belt, and they have what they call the slimers. And they would scrape the outside of the fish, take the scales off, you know. And then those fish came from them over to a bin where they all fell in the big bin of cold water. And then,
I turn it on when I leave the house because
and
if
then,
nobody's there
and
the
then
leak
right
starts
next,
or something,
following
I
that,
don't wanna
the fish, there were buckets there that carried the fish up to knives, rotating knives, so to cut them in sections long enough to go in the can.
Oh, sure.
And I would stand there and I would pick the fish up out of this ice cold water and throw them into the buckets. And so on an average, when I worked on the cutter there, I was handling about 1,000 fish an hour. Yeah.
The neighbor called me and I called the water company and they went and turned it off
Wow.
immediately.
That's a lot of fish.
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And then, but we used to go fishing on our on the weekends, you know.
So I
And,
turned it off just
later
because
on,
it
when I
was
got
starts, and I turned off the
older,
hot
I
water
worked in the
feature
grocery
too,
store there.
so
And,
there's no water going to it,
And then
you know,
when I
'cause
worked in the
bill's
grocery
been
store,
14, 15
then the,
dollars
the boss had a,
Yeah.
boss had a real
Yeah,
nice
well,
little
that's
pole.
good.
It was about a,
That helps.
So it's really easy. In
25
fact,
foot
I have my
boat,
pliers in my pocket
gas
so I
boat.
don't forget 'em.
Oh, okay, good.
and we'd go down and fish off with that. And we'd stand there with our poles and line, you know, and we'd throw the line way out, and then we'd bring it in slow, you know, hoping a fish would catch it. And then, that's right, we'd pull the line in and let it
Guys
drop
must
at
be
our
saddle
feet,
sore.
let it drop
Everybody's
at our feet.
standing.
And we call that
My
strip
first
fishing.
horse
And,
riding lesson.
You
was
what?
on-
and then we would cast
Actually,
that
I
line
heard one.
way back
Standing up all
out
the way
again,
home.
and then bring it back,
Yeah.
and we catch salmon there, and a lot of the salmon that we catch, we would give it away. We caught more than we could use. Yeah. But
Wow.
Väätätämäys
that was all.
hikaliin.
Huh?
Väätätämäys hikaliin evänötäi.
What's the most fish you caught in one day? What's the most fish?
Oh, I think at one time we caught 4 fish each. There were 3 of us in the same rowboat, and I caught 4 fish that day. I think that's the most I caught in one day.
Yeah.
Was 4, yeah. And a lot of times we didn't catch any. Yeah.
Ja,
Well, we'd stand out there and we'd fish.
Yeah. Väätätämäys hiäifäkää inifius.
Oh, that was,
What's the biggest fish of any fish that you ever caught?
oh, that I ever caught.
Mhm.
Oh, I think about, maybe about 20 pounds or so. Yeah.
Ja.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
probably got a bigger one.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
People caught more. You know, when I was in,
Yeah.
the hospital down in Petersburg, I was in the hospital for a month.
Oh, wow.
And while I was there, while I was recuperating, well, my doctor, he went out and on a fishing trip, and they went around an island there, and he caught a 80-pound king salmon.
Wow.
80 pounds. That's pretty good.
Ja.
That
How
is
big is
pretty
No,
good.
How big is that? What?
80 pounds. Well, they're pretty long, and then they got a
I've
pretty
seen
deep,
rubbings that was
pretty
60.
deep
Oh,
belly, you
Oh,
know.
really?
Yeah.
And so they weigh quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not real long,
Oh,
but
yeah.
they're
Oh,
they're thick,
but
you
they're
know.
thick.
Ja.
Wow.
The king salmon.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I have a question.
Well,
What do you remember doing with my dad, with Irvin?
oh, Irvin.
Yeah.
Well, we went out. Let's see. Well, not enough. Early on, you know, early on, he had the newspaper out there in Douglas, and then he let me deliver half of the newspapers, and on the route, he'd take one part of the route, and I'd take the other part, and geez, I can't remember. I think I earned a nickel a day delivering newspapers. Yeah, but and then later on, well, we used to go out, and I think one time we went out. We went hiking one time. I can't remember, and but he and I didn't do an awful lot together in later years, you know, because my family separated,
Oh, yeah.
and Irvin stayed with my dad and his half the family.
Yeah.
And I went with Mother, and there was 4 of us kids, me and, let's see, Dayton and Clayton and Elfrida. We went with Mother, and then with Dad, there was
That's the
Irvin
four
and
youngest.
Albert
That was the
and,
4 youngest of them stayed
Oh,
with them.
and Everett and Dale, yeah.
Oh,
4
Dale.
oldest
You know
boys.
where
Yeah.
there were that many.
Dad,
Oh.
And
Dad, did Irv go with you when you guys were driving out the road in the Model T?
what's that?
Did Irv go with you when you went driving out the road in the Model T all those times?
Model T Ford.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I had a, well, Irvin told me that. Irvin got that. There was a Model T Ford that somebody had taken the original body off, and they put on the body like a racing car. And it had the main cockpit where the driver and everything was. Then behind it was another one where 2 people could sit in the back. And that was a neat sort of car. And Irvin got it first. He got it from the fellow that owned the drugstore there. And then Irvin had it just for a short while, and he sold it to me for $7.50 for this beautiful little Model T Ford. And we had a lot of fun with that thing. One time we were going out to the glacier, the road went out to the glacier out of Juneau, and we were going down that road, and it was all like gravel road, and it had a lot of old chuck holes in it, but anyway, we got out where the road was smoother and better, and there was a 36 Ford behind us. That was a taxi cab, and a yellow cab, and we got out there, and this kid was going lickety split with that old Ford, and we got out there, and we where the road ended there, we stopped, and this guy drives the yellow cab, that 36 Ford with a V8 engine in it. He was clocking us, and he said, "You guys are going 50 miles an hour with that old Model T Ford." Oh golly!
Oh, wow, that was fast.
Yeah.
Down the gravel, the gravel
On the
road.
gravel road.
Wow.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
But out far to do the glacier, the road was smoother.
Yeah, I
Oh,
know.
it was smoother than, the
Whoa.
road was smoother
Yeah.
near the glacier. Yeah, the glacier. Yeah.
One time, let's see, when I was about, 15,
It's good to see him talking so.
almost, I guess
Really
about
hard that he can't
15
hear
or
very
16
well.
years old. Me and 2 other kids, we were going to, maybe a little older, we were going to go out to hike up to a lake, and way out on the road, and Brother Dayton was going to drive us and drop us off and then come back and pick us up. But it was a real sunny day, and in Juneau, Douglas, and when it was sunny in the summer, it got pretty warm, So we changed our mind, and we thought, we'll go hiking up on top of the glacier, Mendenhall Glacier. And so then we did that. The 3 of us kids went up there, and we went hiking up on the glacier. We thought that'd be nice and cool in the summer, but it wasn't. The sun coming down and reflecting off of the ice, it was just as warm up there as anywhere else. And we were walking along, and this one kid, he had a pack sack on his back, strapped on with carrying it, and he lost his footing, and he started to slide down towards a big crevice in this glacier. And oh God, if he'd have went in there, I don't know what we would have done. And he ended up sliding on his back, and at the last minute, that pack sack caught on the ice and stopped him from going down in that crevice. And
Jeez.
boy, that really scared us.
Oh, oh my gosh. That
But,
is so scary.
so hiking on the glacier is the best thing to
Especially in hot weather.
Not the best.
do. And then you don't get colder. We didn't get cooled off at all up on that glacier.
Yeah, yeah. Made you very hot with fear. Made you hot with fear. With the crevice. Oh my goodness.
Oh, that would have been really bad.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
wow.
But,
Oh, that is so scary. Did you ever have any encounters with a bear?
no, not with a bear, because on Douglas Island, over the Juneau side, they had brown bear there. Could be pretty bad. But on Douglas Island, they only had the black bear, and they were smaller, and usually you didn't even see them because they'd stay away from the people, But,
Oh.
yeah.
So the brown bear were more fierce.
Oh, the brown
The
bear.
grizzly.
Grizzly.
Oh, they're like the grizzly?
They are the grizzly.
Oh, they are. They're the grizzly. Grizzly. Yeah, with the hump.
No, in Juneau they didn't have the grizzly bear,
They had the
but they had
Kodiak.
the big brown bear. And yeah, we just called it
Oh,
brown bear.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
And,
huh?
But
Oh,
You
that's
know how
something
to
that-
tell
Sorry.
Yeah.
brown bear
But I
scat
used
from
to
black
always,
bear scat.
if I was walking
Brown
alone
bear
in the
scat
woods,
has the bear bells
I'd
in it.
always be worried about a bear being around, and
Actually,
I'd
it
always
was,
watch for it. I
yeah,
never
but I
did
forgot
see
about
them.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Wow.
like-
Do you want to
like-
come up here?
If a bear's gonna attack
Oh,
you
okay.
as a group of people,
Yeah.
the only
What's some
person
more
that has to
questions? I
worry
love
about it is the
this.
one that
Yeah,
runs
I
the
know,
slowest.
Yeah, you only have to beat one person.
Ask him about how he met Pauline.
Oh,
I love that story.
how did you meet Pauline? Your love.
Oh, in Cordova, I was, that, when I was in the service, well, I was in a thing called, that's how I got in the service, is because I had the qualifications for this new thing they were starting up called surveillance. And we used to monitor our own people to check for security leaks, And
Oh.
and then and I was in Anchorage when VJ Day came, And the very next day after that, they said, we don't need you guys anymore doing this surveillance work. So then we had to pick a different thing to go to, and I picked to go to the transmitter section where they took care of the transmitters. And up there in Anchorage, they had a big transmitter site out in the out away from the main base, and they called it the bomb-proof. It was 40 feet underground, and a long stairway going down in there, and they had a lot of big transmitters in there. They had about 28 transmitters. But anyway, so then I learned the transmitters stuff, and then I was working at that, and and they transferred me down to Cordova. Cordova is a fishing town down on the near the ocean, yeah, Prince William Sound, and so I got transferred down there to be the transmitter maintenance man down there for that station, and so anyway, how did I meet Pauline? I used to see, she and her sister, she had a sister a couple of years older than her. They would be walking down the sidewalk on the other side of the street. And the fella that I worked under, the sergeant that was in charge of the station, he used to go over there and just sit there and look out the window and watch people, you know. And so one day I saw these two girls walking down the other side of the street, and I asked him who they were. And he says, "Oh, that's the Culper girls," he said. And so they, and one of them was Pauline, and so anyway, that's where I first saw her, and then one day, I was coming back, I had been down to my transmitter site, I was coming back, and I stopped at the post office to pick up the mail for the station, you know. And so when I came out of the post office, and this time it was in February, there was a lot of snow on the ground, a lot of snow, and they had the big, there was a big snow bank all piled up along the road. And when you come out of the post office, you come across a sidewalk, and then they had dug a path through this big snow berm. And so I had parked my car there on the road, and I come out, and there was someone else in my car with me, and so when Pauline came out of the post office, I was walking behind her, and she stopped, and she knew this person in the car, and she stopped and was talking to that person, and so I just came and walked around behind her, and I walked around the car and got in on the driver's side, and so then when I got back to the station, I was sitting there and copying some stuff off the radio, and so I thought, well, you know, maybe I could meet that girl. So I picked up the phone, and I called her, and she worked for the draft board, you know, where they drafted people for the service, you know, and she had this job there. So I called her up, and I says, "Hey," I says, "you don't know me, but," I says, "when I come out of the post office a while ago, I nearly pushed you in the snowbank." And
How's that for a smooth?
so anyway, and I says, "Well, you don't know me, but," I said, "I'd like to come over and meet you." I says, "Can I bring you a cup of coffee or something to where you are working there?" And she says, "Well, I don't drink coffee." And I said, "Well, how about something else?" Well, she settled for a milkshake. So I went and got her a chocolate milkshake, took it over to her. But that's how we met. That's how we met.
With a chocolate milkshake.
Yeah.
That did it.
Yeah.
Remember that.
And then you know what? We made it a date to go to a dance at the end of the week, on the weekend. I think it was Friday or Saturday.
Washington's
There was a
birthday.
dance, oh yeah, Washington's birthday, in February the 18th. And so we made a date to go to that dance. Well, when the time came, I went to see her, pick her up to go to the dance, and I went to her office where she worked, and this office had a door with a glass window in the upper part, and on the glass window there was a note pasted to the window, and it turned out she wasn't even in town. She left town to go on a week's vacation or something. So she stood me up for the dance. But where she was, it was a place about 60 miles away from town, out to Copper River. And so anyway, then I sent her some pictures, snapshot I took. And I told her, and wrote a note, I said, well, there's a lot more of these pictures where this one come from. And so, I can't remember. I think she came in, I was working on the counter, taking messages from people, you know, they want to send telegrams. And she came in with somebody else, a friend of hers. And so then we got acquainted again. And yeah. So then it went on from there. Oh, gee, what do you, Carol?
Huh?
Carol,
Yeah,
did you bring Mom's picture home from,
it's at SeaTac because I thought you would want to see it when we stay overnight.
oh,
Yeah.
where is it?
At SeaTac because I thought you would want to see it when you stay
Oh,
overnight there.
Oh, okay.
So I'll bring it home
It's not
Monday.
here.
Right.
I was gonna show it to them.
I will show it to them when we go there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
The cotton.
okay.
Yeah.
it was taking about 5 months before we got married
Oh.
out there. She picking Alaska cotton. Right, Carol?
Yeah, the cotton field.
Picking up Alaska
Wild
cotton.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll see there was a huge field of cotton. It was really pretty.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
Really?
Yeah. Alaska has wild cotton.
Wow.
I thought it was just in the south.
No.
Ah,
It's
it's also
pretty.
in the north.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
What
I know,
questions did you
I
have?
saw some in Wisconsin once.
How did he get his
Oh,
start
really?
at
Mhm.
Boeing?
Yeah,
I
but
wonder if
they're,
Oh.
I still have a piece
Here's
that
a
cousin
question.
brought me some.
How did you get your start at Boeing?
Oh, he
How
did
did
work
I
there.
what?
How did you start working at Boeing?
Oh, I didn't work at Boeing.
Oh, it was not Boeing. It
No,
was
it's
What was it?
for the airline.
Western.
Oh,
for the airlines.
Yeah,
How did you start there?
And the airline,
Mm-hmm.
well, let's see now.
I threw it away.
Oh, I had
So beat
gone,
up.
I had gone to, I finished a radio and television school. I went for 2.5 years.
Oh,
And
wow.
radio television school, and I finished that. And at that time, the airline was hiring radio mechanics. And I saw their ad in the paper, and I went down, and they were, and anyway, I applied for the job at the airline, and I got the job, but it was up in Anchorage. We were down in Seattle, and the job was up in Anchorage. Well, we were wanting to move back up to Anchorage anyway, back up. And so we ended up with, got in a car and drove all the way to Alaska. And then we,
Must have been something back then.
Yeah.
and I started with the airline up there in June 1953. June
Oh,
16th,
1953.
1953.
Oh,
And then I
huh.
worked for the
We're
airline
6 years
there
old.
for 2 months, 2 years, 2 years. Then I got transferred back down to Seattle, and I came down here and worked for a year for the same airline. And then it was an airline that started in Alaska, and they had just got a mail contract, so they moved their headquarters from Anchorage down to Seattle. And so I got transferred back down here, and I worked for a year, and then they, let's see, that was 55. Yeah, then they sent me back up to Anchorage in 56. Yeah, 56. And so then I was up there, worked for the airline for 2 years, and then I came back down. In 58, we moved back down,
Wow, that's a lot of back and
Yeah,
forth.
yeah.
and we thought we were going to get a chance to bid back up to Anchorage, but the job never opened up again. So then I stayed working for the airline all the time after that.
Yeah.
And I started working on DC-3s. They had DC-3s, and they had 4 of them based in Anchorage. And then later on, then we got DC-4s, because they were, oh yeah, the DC-3s only flew in Alaska. They didn't fly down to Seattle. So they wanted an airplane to fly between Anchorage and Seattle. Then they got the DC-4s, not the DC,
The Connies,
no,
they went from
yeah,
DC-4s to the Connie.
DC-3, yeah, the DC-4s, that's right, DC-4s, they were 4-engine airplane, and the DC-3s were only 2-engine. So, and then after that, after the DC-4s, then we got the Connies, the Constellation airplanes. They were Lockheed airplanes. And we flew a lot. I worked in Atlanta a lot of times on the Connies, just worked for ages on them.
Excuse me.
And yeah, the Connies were a fine
Still
airplane.
like a 6-hour
And
flight from Seattle to
The
Anchorage.
reason,
Oh, really? Oh,
Uh-huh.
my God.
the reason we got the Connies, they could carry extra freight. They had this thing look like a streamlined boat, you know, that they hoisted up underneath the airplane, hoisted it right up to the belly of the airplane. It just like it joined the airplane, you know, and they could haul at least 2 tons more cargo with that. We call it the speed pack, and that's why they bought the Connies, was because they had that. And so I worked on the Connies for a long while. Well, till we got, let's see, we got the Connies in, let's see. Gosh, I don't know, man.
Well, it was
56
Western,
or
right,
something.
Dan?
And we had them until Western Airlines took over. And then, we got jets, that's right. We were still Pacific Northern Airlines, and we got 2 jets. We got 2 jets. And they were Boeing jets.
Oh,
And then I worked on, let's see, those 2. Then we got a third one. We got one we bought from Braniff Airlines.
from where?
And from Braniff Airlines.
Oh,
Yeah. So then we had three jets, and And then that's what we had, but we merged with Western Airlines. And Western Airlines, headquarters were in California, Los Angeles. And they took over our airline, our P&A. And so then, and Western had lots of jets. And so then I worked on, Boeing 737, 727, 707, and 720B. Worked on all kinds of Boeing airplanes. And then we, and then we kept moving up, and then we had 6 Lockheed Electras that Western Airlines had based back in Minneapolis, and they moved those out to Seattle. They sold off our Connies, and they moved those out to take place of the Connies, and they were a wonderful airplane. And we flew those up to Alaska and flew them into Cordova, and then we we got up to the DC-10, the wide-body jet, and we had that. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So
How did you like that job? You had that for all your life. How did you like it?
yeah, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. It was really a good time to have that kind of job. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Huh.
see, the first airline I started with, P&A, they had 60 pilots, and then we merged with Western, and Western had 600 pilots. They were that much bigger. And then in the end, well, after I retired from Western, then Delta Airlines took over the airline. They merged and took it over. And Delta Airlines had 6,000 pilots. Yeah, they were much
Wow.
bigger airline. Yeah. So now, I retired from Western Airlines in 1981, and then in 1987, Delta took over the Western, and so now I'm a retiree of Delta Airlines. I'm a pioneer of Delta Airlines now. See, as the airlines merge, they take over everything from the smaller airline and goes to the bigger one. So even though I was retired at the time, well, I became a pioneer of the Delta
Oh.
airline. Yeah.
Yeah. What other question? Yeah. Wow.
Cái sự là phải tự phải
Oh, it's Mary Leona.
ở từ nhiều tờ nam
Yeah.
bạn chờ là nhiều tờ phơi ở từ nhiều tờ nam.
Any questions?
Oh, ask him if he's ever snuck out the bedroom window at the Flick House
Oh,
in the Douglas house.
Rhonda's asking, did you ever sneak out the window, like the bedroom window at your house in Alaska when you were a kid?
Oh, no, not me.
Not me. Not me.
He was a good kid.
When you were a kid.
My sister did,
Sister did.
yeah.
Alfreda?
No, Effie.
Effie did.
Effie, yeah.
Oh.
Effie was older. Effie was the third child. It was Dale, Everett, and then Effie. Yeah, and let's see.
Dale who? Who was the second?
Yeah, right in,
Yeah.
right in front of our house, there was 2 big, what are those trees called? Carol.
Oh, Carol's in the other room.
Cottonwood trees, two big
Oh.
ones. And they grew right up past the upper part of the house, you know, right up. But there was some branches that come over close to the house, touch the
Mm.
upper story level of the house. And Effie, I think, was it Effie? I think so, went out there one time. And she was sneaking out, that's right, she was sneaking out. And she threw her shoe down, threw her shoe down to the ground, and then she went out there, or maybe it slipped off while she was climbing down, but anyway, and she was going to go to a dance, but she didn't find that shoe, so she had to go to the dance with one shoe.
The shoe with one, she had to go
Yeah,
with
so
one shoe.
I guess she must have got another pair of shoes someplace. Yeah. My brother,
What?
I had a brother, he was always getting in trouble with Dad and
Which one?
Norman. And Dad used to send him upstairs to bed. He'd say, "You're grounded." He says, "You go up there, you don't go out anymore tonight." And so he'd go up there and he'd climb out the window down the tree. Yeah.
Well, Ruth, I take you to Salah.
Oh,
Let me see, settle you.
yeah. What were some of the other brothers and sisters like?
With the other one?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's see. As you come down, there was Dale as the oldest. And Dale was born in Pennsylvania. He wasn't born in Alaska.
Oh,
He was born in Pennsylvania. And his mother and dad got married back, they grew up in Pennsylvania, and they, oh yeah, so they got married back there. And then they moved to Alaska in 1911 when mother was carried Everett. And then Dale was born in Pennsylvania, but Everett was born in Alaska. And then after that, then there was Effie, and then, let's see, Albert, and Norman, and then Irvin, and then me, and then Dayton, Clayton, and
Alfreda
Elfrida, yeah.
and Gwendolyn.
Oh, yeah, and then we had the one that was so
Yeah.
sad. She was born some kind of a congestive heart problem, and she lived 11 months.
oh.
Yeah, born in,
Mm.
I think, January, and died in November or
Yeah.
December. Yeah,
The
Oh,
aunt
that
said
was
they
sad.
couldn't
Oh,
get
see.
her too soon.
it was so sad. She was a
Yeah.
beautiful
Yeah.
child. Yeah,
Wow.
but